basically, I'll start recording now.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start there. Okay. Couple things we got to break down there.
All right.
For someone to be that selfless that's like a different level. I don't think I've ever been in a scenario where I've personally even been that selfless, where I would be willing to give my entire being, body, mind, spirit to someone else's future, everything.
I couldn't even do it myself. So even understanding where she got this compassion and love and selflessness from, it blows our minds. It's really incredible. And we had gone through everything, all the medical treatments and, all the doctors and specialists and eat this and don't eat that and do this and don't do that. And then, go through even more invasive things that, are just not pleasant podcast material. Right. But, then we've gone through even other things like trying to adopt and even taking it, like we lived abroad for a while because my husband is Brazilian. So we lived in Brazil for a few years and we tried to adopt there. And it turns out that they're very upset over this one adoption case and they don't allow Americans to adopt in practice in Brazil. And then we tried to adopt through Colombia because Colombia had this really amazing adoption program. And we had friends there and wanted to go through the process there. So we started everything and Colombia was ready to give us a baby or a child. We're, open to whatever we get, we'll take. Yeah. And then Brazil said no. Brazil wouldn't allow the adoption to go through. They wouldn't approve it. And they're both members of this international law or regulatory body. It's the Hague Convention and for the protection of children and intercountry adoption. And Brazil refused to approve it, saying that there were plenty of children in Brazil available for adoption. No, okay. But you can't have one.
That's actually the exact scenario a lot of people are in terms of if you flip that scenario, right? And put that through a new lens, the DEI lens.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people are like, okay, well, racism really isn't that bad, so why don't you just go move somewhere else? Or why don't you just do this?
Right.
Or why are you upset about this? Or like, why can't you just stay inside? Or like, there's always a nuanced way for people to get
that little twist
that they need to go ahead and invalidate someone's experience. Have you experienced personally any kind of racism, or what's your background in terms of anti-racism?
Well, we've certainly experienced some. My husband is Brazilian. Now I'm white and I have white privilege and I don't have the same background.
Gotcha.
We're also of a religious minority though. And so my exposure to discrimination, not racism, but discrimination started at a very young age. I grew up in Virginia Beach in the Bible Belt and I was 5 minutes from Pat Robertson and not too far from Jerry Falwell and 15 minutes from an active KKK group. Wow. And I grew up as, with me and my siblings, the only Jewish kids in our school, save one or two.
Like one of one?
Who joined later. What?
Like one of one, like the only ones?
No, I have siblings. So, we were together. So I have a twin sister, a younger sister, an older brother. And so we were together with each other. And then over the years, a couple of other Jewish kids came into our lives. But early on in elementary school, we were it. And we were in this place where people had never met other Jewish people. They didn't know anything about them. And as young children going to elementary school, we were tortured. And we were accused of eating Christian babies for breakfast and of killing Jesus. And they would beat us up every day at the bus stop and steal our things and destroy our lunch. And it was a daily thing at the bus stop that we had to endure just to get to school. And eventually the school board, the district, determined that we were not allowed to ride the bus anymore to go to school, and that our parents would have to drive us every day for our own safety, for our physical safety, because they could not control the other children who were doing this And so and there were many, many incidents where there were things put in our front yard and signs. And it was, as a young child, that's an experience that forms part of who you are and what you become. So I think my commitment to fighting for diversity started probably there.
Wow.
And then over time just grew. And, you, as a white person, you can witness racism and you can do something about it, or you can be quiet. But because of my own experiences with discrimination, I'm not quiet. And my siblings aren't either, and my parents aren't either. And so, we can recognize that we have white privilege and don't know what racism is. And for us, that's a no-brainer. We know, we understand, we walk it, we live it. And so then fast forward to where we are today and racism in our lives. My husband is, as I mentioned before, he's Brazilian, but from a race perspective and background, he's Caucasian, but he's Arabic.
Wow.
And
that's unique.
Right. So he's Arabic, his family is from Syria, and we're Jewish. So he's been detained at airports. Right. And because there is racial profiling, and they see that he's Arabic, and maybe they see our last name, which our last name Chayo it's spelled Chayo, and maybe they're just making an assumption there, but it looks Arabic. If you know the transliteration, it's a common Muslim and could be Jewish last name. People often think I'm Muslim. I'm fine with that. I just befriend everyone.
Wow.
I think I disappoint some people when I turn out not to be Muslim, but because I have this French Jewish last name. So, I have sat in a parking lot in an airport calling every attorney I know, trying to figure out how to get my husband out because he's been detained on his way back to the US because of his Arabic background. And so that is...
People really need to hear this. And, how important that your experience informs your acts, your walk.
Yes.
And the reality is, I'll tell you a story. So what really triggered me about your story was when you said you were at the bus stop. When I was in the 7th grade, I was at the bus stop. It was my very first day. Got on the bus. And there was this 9th grader. His name was Ashton. I got on the bus, and he said that N-words aren't allowed to sit on the back of the bus. Whole bus stopped. Bus driver did nothing. Okay, I went and sat down, went to school, got back on the bus, came home, got off the bus to walk home. He followed me home. He pushed me in the grass in a ditch, and he beat me up. Then when I got back to school the next day, similar to your experience with the school district, right? So what they said was, okay, we're going to ban him and we're going to expel him, but you're kind of on your own, Kevin. And so then at that point, I became the snitch. That was my entire experience throughout high school. Was
there a lot of retaliation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of why I do what I do, really, marketing is just a vessel. Mm-hmm. And that just, because I had to always advocate for myself. That's really what marketing is right. Being able to advocate for other businesses and other people in a unique way.
There you go.
That's it.
But you're right. These actions, these experiences inform who we become and what we do with our lives and how we project to everyone.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And I relate to it so well. I've eaten the grass. I know what that, it is not pleasant. I will say that there have been some moments of surprise. For example, some of the people who bullied us for who we were when we were children later on reached out to apologize.
Well, so here's the interesting thing about that. Two scenarios of that actually recently. So I started the business started doing well. We were doing features, USA Today. And so a lot of attention online. Right. And so what happened was one of the kids that used to bully me the worst in high school I used to really be into like, I'm kind of was like a rap artist, right? So, you know what I mean? And so he followed my model, became a rap artist, and then started messaging me, liking my posts, following me, all these random things out of nowhere. And he's this rap star now.
Oh, wow.
And his friend's NBA player that won the NBA dunk contest.
Wow.
So it's weird how he told me that, he commented on my post about my year anniversary after my heart incident. And he commented and he was like really inspired. And I just wanted to let you know that. And I felt so angry. And then I realized, like what you're saying, that's their way of kind of righting their wrongs.
Right. Yeah. It makes you feel a little bit okay in the world. And, I bet also that the experiences like having a medical crisis changes your perspective and how you respond to those things over time. And those things maybe don't even matter anymore. And maybe inside you can feel a little bit of pride, like there's some success that's his, but maybe some of that success is yours too. And, even short of monetary compensation or public gratitude, there, you can at least feel a little happiness or, gladness inside.
Yeah. That's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that way often when you see those comments and stuff?
I do. Yes. And I guess also lifelong learning is important to me, and which is relatable to diversity, DEI, because we're asking people to put themselves in someone else's shoes and to see things from another perspective and to be open-minded and to have a conversation. And all of that is learning. And when I see someone else learn something and maybe admit that they were wrong, or maybe grow, and maybe someone posts something unexpected from a new point of view, or maybe I change the political views of my entire extended family. And, I end up, sure, I feel glad inside. I feel a little prideful, but not too much, not simply, but, yeah.
Like I did that, but you know what? Right. It's not really about me. It's about the way that I changed their life. Exactly. And I get to receive that blessing over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have this really cool goal. Like we have our team meetings. I always say, how many lives did you change this week?
Wow. That's big.
If you don't have at least 2, that's not who I want on my team.
That's profound, actually.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, that's, I don't know, an attitude that I haven't seen anyone articulate it before or put that out there as a requirement. And I kind of love it. In my religious background, we have this idea of mitzvot, which are basically on a very basic level, good deeds.
Gotcha.
And, you have to do mitzvot in your life, and it can be as simple as helping someone across the street or, picking up groceries, just good deeds for someone who isn't capable. And, I resonate with that how many lives have you changed? And even with these small deeds, you can change lives. Mm-hmm. Brighten someone's day. You can pay for someone's meal, or you can just talk with someone and change the way they feel that day. Those little things are, especially in this COVID era, are so important.
Yeah. As a business owner, for you, what advice would you give someone that's trying to be more authentic, trying to be more diverse? Where would they start?
Well, they would start with education. That's the place to start. And, find resources. There are so many out there, and be open-minded about it. So if they're already interested, that is their first step. If they're recognizing and admitting that they want to do more, they want to do something, then, they've already taken that first step. But get educated, read something. There's a lot of new material out there. There is a lot of material that was out there before, but it can be something relevant to their business, or it can be something relevant to society at large. There are a lot of great titles out there. There are a lot of podcasts out there. But get educated, even simply. And then, I would say take a stance. And this is something that I advise my own clients. And you and I, we're kind of in the same space with marketing and business development. Yep. I have a niche, and it's the law firm sector.
Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
Right?
That's really awesome. I want to hear all about that. We'll get to that.
We should get to that.
Yeah.
So I advise my clients, if they've already taken that first step, if they've already started to get educated and they want to do the next first step, basically, before even formulating a plan and understanding more about their life and their goals, but make a declaration, a commitment, even if it's to yourself. And I would say do it openly and publicly, because there's some accountability there.
Right.
But, there have been some moments this year that have created this opportunity. And for you, it's something so simple, but a lot of people are reticent. They don't want to take this step and put themselves out there. They're afraid of, I don't know what they're afraid of, what their racist friends will think.
That's a great point. I think from, as a Black person, and I know Black people aren't monoliths, but from my perspective, I think maybe they're afraid of either saying the wrong thing or losing their assets.
That's valid.
Things that are comfortable to them, their religion, their friends, their money, their trust fund, their whatever,
That's valid. They might be. And some of it is still, it's not okay. So
Right.
And maybe they need more people like us in their lives to help along that journey and say, no, you get new friends, you get new assets. And
I think, I like that. You should that's what we should call this episode. You get new friends, you get new assets. I love that.
Yeah.
Get new friends, you get new assets. Oh, that's good.
Right? Yeah. So second first step, put yourself out there, make a commitment, hold on to that accountability, and then ride it from there. There are a lot of other steps you can take once you've made those
right,
two.
Like getting a DEI consultant to then be in-house and all these things. So
right. Yeah. Setting goals, having a plan, making it a part of your culture, creating a culture of inclusion and the true inclusion of equity of.
Yes, that's key. A lot of people, let's touch on that. A lot of people, they think, oh, well, I hired Black people or I hired brown people. So that's inclusion and that's the right thing to do. I did my job. What do you actually do? And so I think to understand really what equity is from your perspective, what are they missing in that recipe?
So it's not enough to just make this attempt at equality. It doesn't mean much if you just have token Black person or Asian person on your team, or a token woman on your team, or a token gay person or a handicapped person. That it just doesn't mean anything. When you truly create equity in a culture of open communication and support for everyone, where that is inclusion, that includes equity. And that means you're all in the same playing field, or you have a path there. And in the sector where I work, that often means, and we say getting together and making sure they're in the room and making sure, everyone has a seat at the table. Well, that's not enough. You can't just have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have a voice. You have to be heard and you have to be listened to. And there has to be some level of commitment to including what people say from different backgrounds into the actions that you take. And it's not enough to just be at the table or be in the room. Everyone needs to have a voice and be heard. And in my sector, there's a lack of diversity, and maybe this is across the board, but specifically in the legal sector, it's pretty astounding. And
I've heard.
And there have been some public missteps in the last couple of years that have Once again, I would say these are opportunities, opportunities to make new business friends and get new assets.
Yes.
Right.
Hey.
Right. So, it has to be where there's an even playing field, and there has to be, for equity to be there, some sort of equality. So let's say all the partners at the firm, maybe you have 50% men and women, and maybe you have 50% white and other people.
Okay.
And that's still not even, but let's just use this for the sake of argument as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But only white people have equity, or 90% of the equity partners are white men. Right?
I see.
This is more literal because this is ownership
equity
in a
firm. Yeah.
Right.
That's
this
a
is
great way to
ownership in a
explain
law firm. So when we talk about an equity partner, if you really have equality, you have people from different backgrounds who have been brought into your firm with a path to ownership, like the white people who have traditionally, white men in particular, who traditionally held that ownership without opening it up to people who are different from themselves.
Because basically the truth is a lot of those folks, they all were interns at one point. So what's different about them than the black kid?
Golf.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's about it. Golf, country club, friends, association.
And even if it's not that, psychologically, we end up gravitating to people who look like us. We gravitate to people who talk like us, who we see as ourselves. We see ourselves in these younger people, and we want to lift them up because we would have wanted to lift ourselves up.
Right.
Maybe that's human nature. So you have to go out of that natural comfort zone that you have and really be open to what is better for the world and ultimately better for your firm and you too. But yeah, it's not always easy to convince someone set in their ways, but it's on the one hand understandable the how it is like it is today. We understand how it is. Right. But here is your opportunity to do different, be different, embrace different. It's time, it's past time.
Right.
But this, can ride it for what it is. Take it now and do it. See the mistakes that other people make and try not to make them.
And so when you see companies taking those big stances, those huge Black Lives Matter declarations and things like that, and there's really no weight behind what they're saying, what does that make you feel as a business owner and a person helping behind the scenes?
Well, I guess I have mixed emotions because, I'm a small business owner, so I don't have a board of directors. I know what I'd want my rainbow board of directors to look like.
Nice.
But as a business owner, I also feel challenges, and I get a little angry when I see people just take advantage of a statement and don't walk the talk. So when I look at things like that, my first thought is, but what does your board of directors look like? Right. And, who's really on your team? What success are you promoting? What plans do you have in place? There are big companies out there that have made these huge statements, but there are little companies out there too doing it. And, a lot of white women, taking a stance. On the one hand, it's nice to see publicly people taking a stance. I hope that there's that measure of accountability tied to those statements, right. And that when you make them, you have some real intention of being genuine about it.
Right.
And
as two hats kind of come into play for me when I see that. One is my marketing hat, and then the other is my Black experience. And so with my Black experience, when I see that, it's immediately anger, right? Immediate anger, right? And then the marketing hat kicks in and goes, this isn't, like you said, this is an opportunity. At least they're doing something. Do you experience code switching at all in a different way because of your religion, by the way? Because like when you're in the comfort of your own home, right? I'll be honest, I'm not talking the same way.
No, I know.
Right? When I'm in my own home, I'm
not the same.
I'm me, right?
Right. It's definitely not the same.
It's not the same level, though.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Because when I was, in corporate world, hi, my name's Kevin Miller. It's a pleasure to meet you. That's code switching, right? And then
right.
talking to you right now is how I really talk.
Right. I don't think so. If there is any, it's embarrassing because it's, me turning on that Southern accent from
that twang.
Yeah, to try and relate to the Texans around me.
Got you.
I think it's human nature to shift yourself a little.
Yeah.
But I don't think there is any for being the religious minority. For us, I don't think so.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's legit to even say there is.
Okay. I was thinking about this the other day. The thing that came up was, surprising. This was actually in a Kanye interview. I saw this, and he said, you realize that Black people, to even get paid like at your job, they're acting. Because you're acting, and then if you have to act more, hi, my name's Kevin, that's acting white. So to even feed your family, you are actually acting as a Black person.
I find this to be uniquely American.
Yeah,
I do, and I think that that's a part of our racist, our history system and presence, and how from how this country was founded, from slavery and just everything past that, and how our societies have evolved, our cities have evolved, and different cultural groups, within your community. Maybe it's not code switching for me. Maybe it's just being able to talk about things that maybe other people don't understand, or in our household, maybe using a different language. But having seen, for example, I lived in Brazil, and the racism in Brazil is horrific. It's unbelievable. And they didn't have a civil rights movement. And there are some things that to me are so astounding that even as an American, I feel lucky to be an American in some ways when it comes to racism in Brazil.
What was it? I got to hear that story. What do they do?
Like teaching children, the one drop of blood means you're Black. And there was a woman who won a position, as Brazil has the carnival, and it seems very colorful and inclusive, and some levels it really is. Okay. On some levels you feel very inclusive. There are some things that feel different than others. It's not just one experience,
right? Right.
But there was a woman who won this first place kind of pageantry in the carnival. And then the prize was revoked because her skin was too dark.
That happens to them, so I don't see how that's different.
She was too Black. Well, here's the difference that the code switching, because Portuguese is spoken in a certain way. Maybe there is on a cultural level, when you get in the room and you're with other people who are your people, and you feel a certain level of comfort to speak a certain way.
Okay.
But in places where the language hasn't been formed over these years, in private versus public, where the language is the same, whether they're in private or whether they're in public with people who are white or different from them. So you talk the same way. And there is a difference there when you're speaking. And here, when you get comfortable with people like me going into a Southern accent, or a Black person speaking more relaxed and not white, and not, whitewashing their language to be in the corporate space. In Brazil, you don't have to do that. You can speak as a normal person as you would as yourself, because their language hasn't evolved the same way with the separation as in the United States.
Oh, so you're saying they wouldn't even be able to pick up on the difference, really?
Right. Like I don't think so. I mean, I think I'm sure there are differences when it comes to behavior and when it comes to, you know, what you might say, but not how you say it.
Got it. So the how you say it part of language hasn't evolved yet. It hasn't caught up to the way Americans have systemically put that element within language and the way things are communicated. It hasn't really been evolved that way.
I would say that it brings people closer together to have the shared language, and that's maybe one of the easier parts of navigating the culture in Brazil, is that at least the language is the same. And it's, you know, even the accents and how you talk, everybody learns to talk the same way, and it's not different if you're in a, I mean, there are differences. There are different, of course, socioeconomic and education levels, and, you know, and different states where they have different accents and all things like that. But it's not like, oh, because you're Black, you're going to speak a different way, or because you're from this sector, you're going to speak a different way. You're this tribe, so you're going to speak a different way. And there is some of that for sure, but it's not the same as in the United States. It's not, that code switching idea doesn't feel as prevalent. And that could just be a veil over my white face. Maybe I'm wrong.
Could be.
But I sort of embraced kind of the language that everyone shared. Cool. I sort of even felt that way with English in some other countries. But, you know, there are still, like, even if you look at the UK or Australia, and there are less Black people in Australia, but it's not like they're speaking differently than the people around them. And that's probably a crude generalization, and maybe there's some ignorance on my part there.
No way. You're just being you and being honest. I'm not tripping.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping.
But I feel like shared language brings people together. And if you didn't have to code switch and you just related to everybody, and, like, you know, you get in your family cluster and your friends, and it, I mean, I think it's subconscious, right? I think it's not like something you think about. Oh, I'm with my Black family now, I can just go into how we all talk. It's just part of life, right?
No, it is something you think about.
Really? You think about it?
Yeah.
See, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, when I'm, you know, because the minute you see, you know, Uncle so-and-so, what up? You know, it's immediate. Yes, it's also subconscious in terms of the trigger. Like, you don't have to, like, think about it more than a second, but there is a thought there. I
didn't know that. I thought it just happens because that's, you know, like, that's just the way it is. It's kind of like when you pick up a fork and you just pick up the fork.
That's about the equivalent level of thinking. So, like, you know, oh, okay, I'm about to pick up this fork right now. And you're looking at the fork and you're saying in your head, I picked up a fork. But you're not, like, repeating, I picked up a fork, pick up the fork, pick up the fork. It's just like, there's still that initial thought.
I remember my husband relearning how to use a fork, and that. Right.
See, there's still a thought. Exactly.
Right. There is a thought that comes along with that.
You're right. Like, it's very automatic now, but
you have to hold it. You have to lift it and get it to your mouth.
Okay. Yeah. Let me match the person. Okay. Am I going to code switch? Okay. Is this a PhD person? How are they talking? Like, those are all thoughts that happen.
I guess at the end of the day, I think it's just when you have more in common and one less thing that makes you different.
Yep.
You know, then you relate to each other a little easier.
Exactly. That's how we related a lot easier, because we have similar experience in business, similar experience in upbringing, right?
Right. Both eating the grass.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
And a lot of people, like, they don't have that. So when I talk to them, sometimes I do code switch. Is it inauthentic of me? No. Here's why. It's also a protective thing. You got to look at it like that, right? So, like, if I'm talking to someone who's trying to extort me, yeah, I'm code switching. And I'm going to pretend like I don't know what they're talking about because I want to hear what they're trying to extort or say. And I've had plenty of companies where I've done that, and they never know to this day. And that's what Black people do all the time. They just don't want to tell anybody. And that's why it's so angering, because they're trying to do all these initiatives and things when in reality, Black people have just been doing what they got to in corporate space to survive and not get fired. That's all.
I get it because I see it. I don't get it. I haven't had the experience personally, but I can see it and I can call it out for what it is and why this person has to go through this.
Right. And like all that HR stuff and you know.
But I think a lot of that too is because I've worked with so many people from different places and who don't speak English natively. My husband doesn't speak English natively, and you have people who are different, and you've just got to embrace it. You know, my husband has had some of these experiences where maybe his email hasn't been exactly right. And he was working for a company briefly where some people criticized his intelligence. And he speaks 5 languages and he's brilliant. But, you know, his language wasn't quite right for something. And there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. And you know
what they did, right? They all they did was try to, maybe we'll work on that, or we'll get an initiative for you, or maybe we'll. So that's happened to me a lot of times. And then all I did was code switch or outperform everyone. And then now it's okay. It wasn't a problem ever. Okay.
Then you have to work twice as hard for half as much. And it's really just.
Yeah, and that's just not what I want to do with my life.
Messed up. That's better. If that's not motivation to do your own thing and be successful at it, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I remember my husband actually took a class at a local university to try and get rid of his accent. One of the things that was so endearing to me, I love the accent. What woman doesn't go crazy over a foreign accent, right? It doesn't matter where you're from. If you speak differently than me, I think it's hot. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
But when he wanted to get rid of it because he wanted that level of acceptance, I'm guessing it kind of must feel a little bit like that, where, you know, he couldn't find a job and he couldn't convince people of his intelligence because he had a foreign accent. And so he dedicated some time to talking more like us.
Right.
First trip back to Brazil, gone.
Yeah.
Came right back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a relief that was.
I'm sure. So
maybe
that's one element for sure. That's definitely like, I look at it kind of like a, if it's like one of those pie charts, right? There's like different little slices of this thing. Like, and I think my favorite slice to talk about is, so you probably had this experience too, actually. When you are consulting a client, and the client, for example, they have a website, and that website has a lot of tokenism on it, a lot of weird supremacy language. It's not inclusive, but it also has a Black person on the home head page because they're inclusive and diverse. Why do people not? So 2 questions. As a consultant and a business owner in these situations, 1, what is going through their head to think that's okay? And 2, what have you suggested?
Well, I haven't had that exact scenario, but bits and pieces of it, certainly bits and pieces of it. Mostly I end up dealing directly with people who have 0 inclusion or diversity. And it's just sort of, my market is mostly Latin America, where it's mostly men. And so my background in diversity has to do a lot more with gender than it does with race. But you start to see this. So there is a law firm out there that in Brazil that I can think of that has done this. And well, first they have to be authentic. That they have to. And if you're not authentic, then I don't trust you. And for a law firm, that trust element is so integral to the services that they provide that the suggestion that they would put something out there that isn't true it already undermines who they are and what services they provide. They're not doing themselves any service. That's maybe the first where I would start with that and say, you have to be truthful in what you're doing. So if you want to elevate women or Black people or other types of people, you have to actually have them included in what you're promoting. And there has to be an understood
buy-in.
Going back to that equality, it has to be communicated, it has to be understood, it has to be meaningful, and it has to be relevant. And if you're doing this just to appear to the outside world that you care without making that commitment stick, then it's a problem. But I also put on that marketing hat, like you said earlier, and say, you've got to start somewhere. This maybe isn't the best place. Let's take a look at where that is. But at least they recognize at that point. If they've done that, they at least recognize that they have to change something, and that, they recognize the importance of diversity. If that is their message out there, then they recognize that. I start from there as that stepping stone, as that opportunity to educating, setting goals, having a plan, implementing that plan in that order. And if that's where I have to start, that's where I have to start. But I look at that as at least a door open.
Yeah, I like it. You're kind of like the queen of the bridges. I like that. Yeah,
I like that title. I think I might change my LinkedIn.
Take that.
Queen of the bridges. Yeah. I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they just don't want to have enough patience or understanding in those moments because, one, you gave us money. Two, right? Two, you didn't hire me to be your DEI consultant. You hired me to make you your website. But you happen to get a lot more because you hired me.
Oh, I wouldn't just be quiet and be content with just reviewing a website and not saying that.
Right.
And not doing it.
Right. And so that's the weird dichotomy is
yeah.
It depends on what type of service provider you are. Are you one that's authentic to you, or are you great? Here's your website. Get out of my face. You know what I mean? So.
I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to automate enough to be that way.
Nice.
Maybe that's terrible, but
automation is great. I love it. Yeah,
I need to start doing more to create some of the revenue to let me do the other things that I want to focus on and do.
Nice.
And this to me this is what you're doing, this ultimate passion project related to DEI is incredible.
Thank you.
And I mean, I hope that it has a good return financially and, that you're prosperous because of it as well.
Right.
But
even if I'm
you're
not
authentic about it. You're super authentic about it. You've posted these pictures of your team that I'm like, I look at that and thinking, I want my team to look like that. And I just think that this is amazing. This whole group that you've put together, the way that you've structured it, I love it. And I think I learn something every time I visit the group. And that's really important. Somebody posts something, I want to learn from it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think
will correct me later.
What we can do too is I have these I like to do a lot of experimenting on our lead gen and things like that. And so I'll send you some stuff that worked for me, and
cool.
Yeah, you can feel free to use it. My goal is always to let people. Because a lot of people gave me a lot of game, you know what I mean? So that's why I want to give it back to you.
Awesome.
It's not mine to hoard. I didn't learn it myself. Someone taught me it or showed me it. So why shouldn't I just keep going?
Thank you.
Got you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Little by little, baby steps.
So when did you start Firm Forward?
I started Firm Forward in 2014. I had been working for a Brazilian law firm at the time, and I stayed working for them for a time. And I was doing business development and marketing for them. And before that, this is just kind of informs the legal and everything. I worked in companies managing intellectual property portfolios.
So were you doing trademarks and stuff like that?
trademarks, patents, copyrights, designs, hiring outside counsel all over the world, and acting as the corporate point of contact for the attorneys from outside the country. Cool. Generally not inside the country. It was mostly international. And after that, I got married and I moved to Brazil, and I ended up working for this Brazilian law firm. It's great. The experience was generally positive. Nice. And people started to notice what we were doing together with the marketing and business development. And I have a business background. My education is business, and there's marketing there too. And it wasn't what I was pursuing when I was doing the intellectual property work. I kind of fell in love with it. There's all the multiculturalism in all the different countries, and I've always had an affinity for people different than me, especially people who speak different languages. I've always just been mesmerized by mouths moving and people communicating and me not understanding a thing. And then I moved to the US because my Brazilian husband got a job in the US, and I decided to open Firm Forward, thought now or never. I'll open my own thing. I'll keep working with this Brazilian firm and get a few more clients. And I did. And
so you were working in the United States for the Brazilian firm remotely?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And for the first year of that, it was being paid in Brazil and living in the US and doing business development for the Brazilian firm. And then Firm Forward really became something else. It's evolved over time. Yeah. My services have evolved over time. And now they're evolving even more. It's helping law firms that are in other practice areas outside of IP, even though that's my wheelhouse. But leaving behind, in some ways, just general consultancy. So I was doing really strategic business planning and goal setting and advisory services that were related to restructuring, communications, marketing, of course, business development. And a lot of my work was based around travel. And this year has been, baby, right? And a complete shift. Everything changes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to pivot, that word that some people love and some people hate, but we're shifting, and I'm shifting too. So in a couple of weeks, my new website will be live. And
come on with it.
That's why when you posted yesterday about the website, I was like, I'm already in there. I'm good. So my new website's going to be live soon, and I'm offering a whole suite of marketing services that I wasn't offering before that I'm really excited about doing. And it's new. It's not just for IP firms. I'm still staying in the legal sector because this is where my core knowledge lies, and wonderful. It's different from a lot of other things. And I'm even finding some challenges there too. Probably challenges that you're familiar with or aware of offering marketing services in general. It's that the law firms I've traditionally worked with are B2B, where their companies are corporates, and they're, as part of an expansion to other areas of law, there are a lot of law firms out there that are B2C, where they're offering family law or criminal law, or they're going right to the client, and it's a very different. Everything is different about that. Yeah. The way you communicate,
the plan, the market,
everything is different. Everything is different. So I still have some things to tweak, to figure out, but I'm working on it.
The beautiful part of it is the tweaking. I love the tweaking.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, fine. Oh, you don't love it? It's okay if you don't.
I do. I think I would love it more if I were able to start measuring things, and I'm anxious to get it going. And there are some challenges I'm having just to take care of it all. And
got it.
When you're super, super small and you're doing most of it all by yourself, it's pretty hard. I do have one person who works with me in Brazil who is amazing. She's been with me from the beginning, and she does our social media and branding, and God love her. She just puts up with me and hasn't left me yet. So
that's great.
Get
those early people, that are cool with doing contracts, cool with doing, cool with whatever.
How would I do it otherwise?
Exactly. That's the way to do it.
And in the egg all day long.
And then one of the things I want to tell you too. So the LinkedIn group, we just trademarked the name All Equity, and so we're also developing an app. It's going to be a market.
Oh, that's awesome! Did you get the registration already for the trademark?
It's almost approved. So I was on the phone with them yesterday. So it's probably about a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the concept here is basically the LinkedIn group, but it's a marketplace. So DEI consultants get to connect with businesses looking for consulting. And it's like Fiverr, right? It's a marketplace.
Love it.
So you can go on there and find a DEI consultant in gender and sexuality and race, and, so that's going to be coming in 2022. The prototype actually just got done as we were talking.
That is so exciting. Congratulations. That's amazing. I really love it. I think what you're doing in this space was so needed, and it wasn't there. You saw it in a different way and said, you know what, we can make this better.
Thank you.
And I like that there's a little bit of monetizing it too.
Me too.
Yeah. You need that.
I always tell my clients, I say, compensation is the ultimate equity.
It's true. This year I've spent a lot of time trying to listen to Black people and really listen to them. And there's this woman who she goes live all the time. She's a business coach, and she was very emotional over some of the events of the year. Yep. And it was hard. It was hard to watch and learn from her, but she said some things that resonated with me about money. And it's so true. It's so important that if you're not spending money, if you're not feeling it financially, especially for white people or, who have more of it because you're white,
right?
What are you really doing? And so, no, I'm not providing free coaching. No, I'm not serving on your panel. No, I'm not doing this. And this is one of the things, going back to what we were talking about before, like, how are you authentic? How do you find people? And if I had the budget, I would totally hire her and pay her in a minute. I don't want to insult her by not having the budget to pay her. And because she deserves every penny with how powerful she speaks. And I mean, she deserves every penny. But that is so true. People need to be paid for their work. It needs to be for the value they provide and the true value. I'm not saying, do it cut rate just because you can get away with it. No.
Right.
Pay people fairly for the value and, put your money where it is. Just, not where it is, where it should be.
Right. And like one of the things too, tagging onto that, Master P, he hired, when he was coming up in the music industry, he hired Michael Jackson's lawyer for a 1-hour consult, $25,000. So really, what was the value of that information? Maybe he could have got it somewhere else, but probably not, because what Michael Jackson's lawyer knows and knows how to do and explain and guide is not the same thing. Joe from blah 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 firm, it's not. It's never going to be the same thing.
It's not.
So people need to start treating these consultants for what they are, which is superstars, superheroes in that space. They are the experts.
Right.
Pay them.
They are the experts. They know exactly what you need to know, and if you want to know what they know, pay them.
Yep.
And pay me too. Right?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. What I started doing with that is, what I do is, so I get them on, basically someone wants to sign up, right? I get them on the phone, give them about 30 minutes of my time. I explain things that they need to understand. And I say, you could go do all this yourself and figure it out. I tried and I wasn't able to. But here's all the steps I took to get to where I'm at. Here you go.
Go for it.
Always come back and go, okay, I'm ready. Or they sign up right there, because they realize in that moment, it took all those years for me to figure all that out. I can cut out all that time it's going to take you to get to where you're trying to go.
Right. they recognize the value.
Right.
You know, that's huge, and it's so important. And I wish more people recognize the value. You're creating a lot of value for this. You're changing people's lives, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. That's really awesome.
I think what would be dope, you know, one of the things I remember you said was about having like a group panel or something like that, a meet and greet or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And execution is the only thing I'm scared about there, because I probably would need my assistant. Yeah, my assistant's definitely going to have to help with that and set that all up. But I think the way I envision it, at least, is kind of like either there's topic points where we're going over when it's not like lecture-y at all, and it's more just like a free for all, people can do what they want, say what they want kind of vibe, versus like the, hey, welcome to our Zoom session, here is your topic for the day. Like that whole thing scares me. I don't want to ever put anyone in a room like that. I hate those rooms.
I would love to actually see both of them.
Yeah, and that's cool. And that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I know she'd probably be cool with both. For me, I'm sure I'm cool with creating both. I just don't want to participate in both.
I think you have tons of people in the group who are willing to participate in it. And I wasn't sure, and never sure sometimes when I comment, like, am I supposed to be commenting on here? Is it okay? Because I know it should be like other people too, but at least it's bringing visibility to it. So whether right or wrong, other people can at least see it then and comment and participate, hopefully. And whatever comes out of it, I'm sure you guys are going to do a great job. I'm looking forward to learning from whoever you put together on these panels. And, you know, I think that's all. We can learn from each other. And if people are willing to share, then, I mean, absent the big speaker fees and consulting fees.
Yep, exactly. Everybody's ego getting checked.
Right. I know.
Everybody's ego getting checked. I don't give a damn how much you made last week.
And that's it, right? That's it. That's where it is. So
cool.
So yeah, I think you're going to do a great job without even trying, because of what you've done so far. And you can count on me to be there. I'll cheer it on. I'll watch and learn something.
Wonderful.
And, you know, comment and raise my hand. And if you want, be the foolish white girl who asks the weird questions. But I promise not to stop talking and cry and run away. And
okay.
Right?
Cry and run away.
What?
I said cry and run away. That's like I feel like I've seen so much of that lately.
I saw one of the rules of the group was no white fragility. And I was like,
wasn't that perfect?
I found my people. This is my group.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen it. I feel like I've seen signs of it, but I didn't say nothing. It's like, hold on. Okay, we're good. He's good. Okay, we're good.
I may say the wrong thing, but I'm sticking around. For me, tell me I'm ignorant.
You got your hall pass.
That's right.
You tapped in. You're good.
Yeah. And when I'm bored, I'll just look for all those people who say all lives matter and respond to random social media requests with cartoons.
What you got going on the rest of the day?
It's a pretty busy day. I have a lot of meetings. I'm onboarding a new client later. And
onboarding. You got an automated process yet? We just finished ours.